Welcome everyone, this is On Just Restart, and this time we're talking about if it's now more likely that a Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom trailer will be coming at the Game Awards next week. Why would it be more likely? Well, we just got the Super Mario Bros. Movie Nintendo Direct a couple days ago. We got the second trailer for the Mario movie, and a lot of people thought, myself included, we were going to be seeing this kind of information of the Mario movie at the Game Awards, yet we've gotten it this week and not next week at the Game Awards. So what's going on? Does this mean that Nintendo has something else planned for the Game Awards? Potentially, and it might mean a Tears of the Kingdom trailer. So we're going to be talking about that today. Now before we jump into things, let me first very briefly mention my social media. You may see a few different things here on screen. You can check that all out. It's linked in the description below. And of course, if you like what you're seeing here, you can subscribe or perhaps consider joining as a member. So earlier this week, a few people asked me if I thought that it might be more likely that we could get a Tears of the Kingdom trailer now at the Game Awards, because we're now getting this week a Mario movie trailer. We've gotten it, there's been even more information that's come out about it, so it's less likely that the Mario movie will be getting the focus of the Game Awards. And I at least agree with this thinking somewhat. So now that we've gotten all this Mario movie information, I think it's unlikely that we'll get another trailer that's as revealing of the plot and characters and all just a week later at the Game Awards. So with that said, I don't think the Mario movie is going to be getting as much prominence at the Game Awards. I'd be shocked if it's not at least mentioned to some capacity in some way, shape, or form. But yeah, I think it's less likely that the Mario movie is going to have a big focus now. But to be clear, when I say big focus, I mean just a short spot at some point in the Game Awards, because that's not what happens at the Game Awards. The Game Awards is about the nominations of different games that have come out in the last year, and which ones are winning for Best Game of the Year for their particular category. And to bring in more viewership, what they do is that they partner up with other video game companies and such, and sometimes movie companies as well, and they have announcements, new trailers and things like that there. But they're never extended looks, they're usually shorter looks, and sometimes they may say, hey, for an extended look at this particular game or movie, check YouTube. Something like that. So with that all said, we were never going to get anything as significant as what we got this week for the Mario movie at the Game Awards. Could we have gone just the trailer and nothing else? I think that's possible, but when we take a look at what happened at the Direct, we heard from Anya Taylor-Joy, the voice of Peach. We heard from Seth Rogen, the voice of Donkey Kong. We saw the trailer, and then afterwards, Miyamoto had some words about Donkey Kong's new design. So there's a little bit more there. There's a little bit more touch, a little bit more focus. That's not something we would have gotten there. So I'm actually very happy Nintendo went ahead and did things in this way. And I'm now not so much expecting that we're going to get another big trailer like that at the Game Awards. Let's not forget that we've also gotten new posters as well to give us a little bit more information about the movie, and in different countries there have been other clips or trailers that have come out that show a little bit more footage here and there. So it seems like just the overall advertising for this movie was kicked off this week. So with that said, I could see something else in a smaller capacity showing up at the Game Awards that's for the Mario movie. And the reason this is all relevant to the conversation about The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom is because when I go back to my own personal prediction a few weeks ago, my prediction was this. My prediction was that the most likely scenario is that Nintendo would show at least one relatively major thing, and I was predicting that to be the Mario movie trailer. With it coming out in April, and with us needing a trailer and all of that, it made sense. And sure enough, we did get something around that time, but it happened this week, not next week at the Game Awards. But then my second prediction was, well, if it's not a Mario movie trailer, maybe it's time for a Tears of the Kingdom trailer because, well, one, there's that huge history of Breath of the Wild at the Game Awards. We've seen it for a few different years, a couple of years before the game came out, and then the year it came out afterwards. And the game is coming out in May, and we still know so little about the game. Maybe it's time they start to drill up a little bit more hype about the game. It is nominated for Most Anticipated Game of next year. Maybe it'll win it. And if it doesn't win Most Anticipated Game of the Year, maybe it's even more reason for Nintendo to give us something at the Game Awards to start building more anticipation so it can garner that level of excitement and popularity so it does end up being a more successful game. This all makes sense. I'm not saying it's no longer a solid prediction. I predicted it myself. I still feel good about it being a possibility. But I just want to be clear here. I always thought the Mario movie was more likely, and then the Tears of the Kingdom trailer would be second most likely, and then a outside chance that we would see something from both. But then there's this other option that I also thought was somewhat likely as well, and that's that we would get nothing. You see, last year we got pretty much nothing, just a few commercials from Nintendo, nothing substantial. And over the years during the Switch era, it seems like things have dwindled little by little. Nintendo still makes sure to have a presence. For example, even after Reggie left, which we thought had something to do with things because of the partnership with Jeff Keighley, that relationship there, it seemed to facilitate more of a Nintendo presence at the Game Awards. But again, even though after he left, we still got some things, such as the big Sephiroth reveal for Smash Ultimate as one of the final DLC characters. So I don't think we're necessarily at a point where Nintendo has zero interest in a presence at the Game Awards. But I also don't think it's blatantly clear that they're going to have a strong presence at the Game Awards either. It's possible that last year, the reason we didn't have a significant presence was just because for the lineup that they had going for this particular year, there was just nothing there that really made sense for them to really showcase. And let's take a moment to think about that for a moment. What came out this year that was a good fit for the Game Awards? Kirby and the Forgotten Land? No. Xenoblade Chronicles 3? Even though it's finally gotten some nominations this year, historically speaking, Xenoblade always gets a snub, so no. Splatoon 3? Not really the kind of audience we'd be looking for. Pokemon Scarlet and Violet? Yeah, also not really the kind of game that would get attention at the Game Awards. Typically the kind of games we would get attention at the Game Awards would be something like maybe a Bayonetta 3, for example, which did actually get its initial announcement at the Game Awards. And it did come out this year, actually. But it did come out towards the end of this year, and maybe that release timing was a little shaky, so maybe they didn't feel really good about showing it off last year at the Game Awards. But there are other reasons why they may have decided not to show it off at the Game Awards last year. It could have had something to do with the fact that, well, maybe Nintendo doesn't really care about the Game Awards that much anymore. That could be the reason why, so that would be more reason to be a little bit more skeptical about an announcement next week. But another possibility that we could discuss here is simply that based off what they had scheduled and what they had coming, they just didn't think it was the right time to do it, and it's just as simple as that. Perhaps when they initially announced Bayonetta 3, it made sense to do it then because that was the first year of Nintendo Switch, and they just wanted to get out as many announcements as possible because they really wanted to hype things up. The fact of the matter is, it's not black and white. We don't know all the reasons that go into why or why not they make certain decisions as to what shows at the Game Awards and what does not. So ultimately it comes down to a guess, and it may be an educated guess, but we really won't know what's going to happen until it happens. And given that we didn't get really that much last year, I want to be really careful to get people excited about what could happen next week. So definitely go into this cautiously, maybe cautiously optimistic, because I still do think it makes sense for something to show up next week. Because we did get the Mario movie stuff, it does make sense for Nintendo to focus a little bit more on Tears of the Kingdom now. It would be weird for the Mario movie to get the same level of focus it got this week. It may be mentioned, it's possible, but with everything we got this week, it really feels like they're probably not going to give anything substantial, if anything at all. But with the history, as we said earlier, with Breath of the Wild, with Tears of the Kingdom being up for the most anticipated game of the year, with Tears of the Kingdom coming out in May, not too long after the Mario movie, and with us not knowing that much about the game, you would think that this would make a lot of sense to show off at the Game Awards. But something that has given me a little bit more pause for concern or doubt as opposed to previous years is because, while it does make more sense for it to happen now, more so than any other year because of the actual set release date in May, we also haven't gotten that much information. And to which you may respond, well, okay, then it makes more sense, right? Give us more information because we're lacking in information. I would say yes, but also Nintendo is cautious about how they present their games, what they reveal about their games. And as I talked about earlier, the Game Awards only gives us small little pieces of information. Although, in the footage you're probably seeing here, there were longer segments in the past, but more recently they've become a little bit more efficient with their time. So if Nintendo wants to tell us about this game in a careful way, then they can't take their time and give us a big old presentation about Tears of the Kingdom. So if there's a reason why Tears of the Kingdom doesn't show up at the Game Awards, it's because of this. It's because Nintendo wanted to be careful about what they're going to share about this game, because they really want to have a nicely catered and structured message about what Tears of the Kingdom is going to entail. Kind of like how we've gone these different Mario movie directs for the Mario movie as opposed to just random trailer drops. They're treating these things with the utmost care, which I appreciate, and when we finally do get information about this, that's more than just a quick little teaser, it's going to be amazing. With that all said, they can still have that finely catered, structured presentation down the road, maybe in January, maybe in February, one or the other, but they could whet our appetite just a little bit and give us one more teaser. Yes, another teaser might be a little frustrating because of all the teasers we've gotten so far, but I would say something is better than nothing. And there's a lot of things they could tease. They could tease some voice acting from Ganondorf, maybe from Link. I know I'm crazy to think that's even a possibility. Maybe they could show off a boss fight or a typical style dungeon, but within the open air format. There's a lot of little things they could show off that could get us really excited within 30 to 60 seconds. If they end up somehow having a longer segment, wonderful. But I'm just going to remain cautiously optimistic about this happening. So this is where I stand. Yes, because the Mario movie has gotten a new trailer with new information this week, it's no longer my most likely prediction for the Game Awards next week. Tears of the Kingdom does take precedence now. It is my top prediction. I think that's the most likely thing to expect next week. But also, as I said earlier, it doesn't seem like how Nintendo handles things at the Game Awards is super easy to predict. Last year we basically got nothing. We could also basically get nothing this year. So be prepared for that is basically what I'm arguing here. But the most likely outcome, in my opinion, is that yes, we get a little bit more information for Tears of the Kingdom, but if we don't, well, maybe in January then, or February. I think that's the latest we get information about this game. But what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Anyways, everyone, this is On Just Restart. Thank you so much for listening and watching, and I'll see you all really soon. Take care. Bye.